Respect is something almost everyone hungers for, yet very few ever achieve in a real, lasting way. We live in a world where people confuse respect with attention, with status, with fear. A person raises their voice, flashes their wealth, shows off their power, and people mistake that reaction for respect. But look closely. That's not respect. That's intimidation. That's envy. That's temporary fascination. And the moment the power fades, the moment the money dries up, the moment the noise stops, so does the so-called respect. Confucius, one of the greatest minds in human history, understood this long before our modern world was even imagined. He lived during a time of political chaos, corruption, and constant struggle for dominance. Leaders were desperate to be respected, but most of them only knew how to demand it, not earn it. Confucius looked at this mess and realized a timeless truth. Respect is never granted by force. Respect is never begged for. Respect can only grow naturally from the character of the person themselves. He once said, "Respect yourself and others will respect you." At first glance, this sounds simple, almost too simple. But when you dig into it, it's one of the most profound insights into human psychology and society, because the way you carry yourself sets the standard for how others treat you. If you treat yourself like you don't matter, people will mirror that back. If you allow your boundaries to be broken, people will keep breaking them. If you speak without integrity, others will stop listening. In short, the world reflects the respect you give to yourself, and that's where most people fail. They chase external approval without building inner strength. They demand respect while secretly doubting themselves. They want to be admired, but they compromise their principles at the first sign of resistance. Confucius knew that this was a losing game. He believed that the first battle is always within. You must discipline your words, your actions, and even your thoughts before you can expect others to take you seriously. Imagine two people. One constantly talks about how much respect they deserve, how people better recognize their worth, always announcing their importance. The other doesn't say much at all. They move with calm certainty. They keep their word. They act with consistency. Who do you think others will trust? Who do you think will naturally command respect without asking for it? Always the second one. And that's exactly what Confucius was pointing to. Respect is a byproduct, never the main pursuit. If that's the foundation, then how is respect actually earned? For Confucius, it wasn't about tricks or appearances. It was about how you live every single day. One of his core teachings was the idea of li, often translated as propriety, ritual, or proper conduct. Now, this doesn't mean blind obedience to traditions or meaningless ceremonies. What Confucius meant is that the way you carry yourself in the smallest gestures reflects the order of your character. The way you speak to a stranger, the way you treat a servant, the way you handle small responsibilities, all of these things reveal who you really are. And people notice. Respect begins when others see that your actions are aligned with your values, consistently, in big things and small things alike. He also emphasized the power of integrity. Confucius believed that if your words and actions don't match, you cannot be respected. Anyone can speak noble ideas. Anyone can quote wisdom or act righteous when it benefits them. But the moment you betray your own word, you lose trust. And without trust, there can be no respect. That's why he said, "A man who lacks trustworthiness, I do not know how he can get along." In other words, you can fake strength, you can fake wealth, you can fake charm, but you cannot fake character. Over time, people will see through it. Another key element is humility. Not the kind of fake humility where someone downplays themselves for attention, but real humility that acknowledges both strength and weakness. Confucius despised arrogance because arrogance is the mask of insecurity. He believed that the truly strong man doesn't need to boast his presence, speaks louder than his words. Think about how modern society works. The loudest people online, the ones always showing off, often get temporary attention but rarely earn lasting respect. Meanwhile, those who quietly master their craft, who act with calm confidence, often end up being revered. This is exactly the kind of principle Confucius was pointing toward. Respect, in his teaching, is also tied to how you treat others, especially those who cannot benefit you. If you only show courtesy to those above you, that's not respect, that's flattery. But if you treat the weakest, the voiceless, the forgotten, with the same dignity you would show to a king, people recognize something rare in you. Confucius believed that the way you treat those who cannot repay you is the truest reflection of your character, and it is precisely this quality that makes others respect you deeply. In essence, his secret to earning respect wasn't really a trick or tactic, it was a way of life. You live with discipline, you keep your word, you practice humility, you treat others with fairness, and slowly but inevitably, people begin to see you differently. Not as someone who demands respect, but as someone who simply deserves it. And when you reach that point, respect doesn't need to be chased. It follows you naturally, like a shadow that never leaves your side. Now here's the question. What does all of this mean for us? Living in a world completely different from ancient China. We're surrounded by noise, competition, social media, and endless pressure to prove ourselves. Respect today often feels like a game of status, how many followers you have, how much money you make, how many people notice you. But Confucius would see this for what it really is, an illusion. Because true respect, the kind that lasts, has nothing to do with numbers or clout. It has to do with who you are when the spotlight fades. And that is why his secret is still as powerful now as it was 2,000 years ago. If you want others to respect you, first respect yourself enough to live with discipline, integrity, and purpose. In modern terms, this means a few things. It means stop chasing shallow approval and start building real value in yourself. Respect your time. Don't waste it on things that drain you. Respect your words. Don't make promises you can't keep. Respect your boundaries. Don't allow people to walk over you just to be liked. And above all, respect your own potential. Don't sell yourself short. Don't shrink just to fit in. Because the truth is, people are constantly observing, even when you don't realize it. They watch how you handle failure, how you react when you're disrespected, how you carry yourself when no one's clapping for you. And in those moments, your character speaks louder than anything else. Confucius understood that humans are wired to follow those who live with inner order, not those who scream the loudest. Look at history. The people we still respect across centuries are not the ones who shouted the most. They're the ones who lived their values so deeply that others couldn't help but notice. Marcus Aurelius, for example, never boasted about being emperor. He lived stoicism, and respect followed him even in death. Diogenes lived with radical honesty, and even Alexander the Great respected him. The same principle goes back to Confucius. Respect is never about chasing. It is about becoming. So, if you want respect today, stop asking for it. Stop trying to manipulate it. Start living in such a way that respect becomes unavoidable. Live with clarity, speak with integrity, treat others with fairness, and carry yourself with quiet confidence. Do this long enough, and you won't need to demand respect. People will offer it to you freely, because they'll recognize that you have something rare in this world, dignity. And that is Confucius' ancient secret. Not a trick, not a strategy, but a timeless truth. Respect yourself, and the world will follow.